All right, just trying to do a quick audio check before we start the stream here. Give me a second. All right, good morning, good evening, whatever it is where you're at. Going to be looking for the ICT silver bullet this morning that occurs during the London session here, typically between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. It's the only thing we're going to be looking for. What we're going to look for is price to sweep liquidity, either the high or the low, some form of liquidity. So you see we're kind of hanging out here at the highs right now. So we either want it to sweep this 15,076 area, or maybe this area down here at 15,040. So we want it to sweep one or the other, and then kind of shift in the other direction. So sweep of liquidity, market shift in the other direction. I mean, we could use the fact that it's already swept the liquidity here, but I'd like for it to make another move up, then have a shift back to the downside. We might get short, kind of targeting these swing lows here. We do have some relatively equal lows here at the bottom from a big move up that we had at 11:30 tonight. Nice little move up there. What is that? 30 points. So maybe come back down, take this liquidity below these relatively equal lows, or kind of resweep this high here. What I usually look for, I like to have a market structure shift on both the 3-minute and the 1-minute, or at least know that it's forming on the 3-minute when it happens on the 1-minute. And then we kind of take the entry from there. So we're approaching the 3 a.m. hour here. Let's kind of see what happens at the open here. Yes, I should say I got the Top Step account here on the left and the Apex account on the right. Equity in the Top Step account is going to be 52,443, so we only need 564 on this account to be funded. Equity on the Apex is 50,701, so we need $2,300 on it. So we're probably being a little more aggressive on the Apex account. May take 3 or 4 contracts and just one contract here on the Top Step account. So we just opened there, kind of selling off a little bit here, retracing some of that move up. Like I said, I think, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. We could either sweep this top side liquidity or this low side liquidity first. I mean, we could consider this liquidity here as well for a potential shift back to the upside. We'll just kind of see what happens here. Didn't take the liquidity there yet. Kind of created relatively equal lows. I don't think it doesn't look like it swept it. So like I said, it doesn't always do what you want it to do or what you think it's going to do. So let's just let the setup happen, and we just kind of go from there. No rush. I'm going to be here between 3 and 4 at least, maybe longer, depending upon if we're in the trade still or not. Because on Top Step, I have no problem just putting my stop at break even and kind of just letting it, you know. I'm going to set my target at, let's see, we need, what do we need? $657. So that's 33 handles to get funded there. So I'll probably set my target on the Top Step account at 33 handles. And once we reach, you know, $200 in profit, we'll just move the stop to break even. If we can get 200 in profit, and then and by break even I mean probably lock in like $100, $50, and then just let that one run. But the Apex one we're gonna have to babysit because of that trailing drawdown. We don't want to, you know, we want to be able to take 2 contracts off, and I'd be okay with leaving a runner on that one. So potentially take 2 contracts off at whatever, you know, I don't know. I don't have a set amount yet that I'm thinking of, but take two contracts off at least probably 10 handles, and then that locks in $400, and then kind of let the that last contract just go for a little bit there. If we're in the trade, if we get the setup, we'll try to sit here and babysit it for a while and move the stop up accordingly if we can. We do have a pivot to the upside here at the 15,088 level, and then pivot to the downside 14,910. So, trying to sell off here. I almost want to just take the short down to these relatively equal lows here, but just give it time, let it do its thing. Kind of in a uptrend since open at 6 o'clock. Just kind of continue to push up. Now it's created relatively equal lows here. Like I said, ideally, I'd like it to take out these swing lows these relative this level of liquidity here. Let's kind of sweep down, take that out, maybe have a shift back to the upside, and then we can ride this thing higher. It's kind of my thought process right now, but we are kind of setting up here for a possible entry if we trade back up into this 65 level. Short stop on that, I mean, you would only stop would be at 72, 73, so could potentially short there for the move down. With a, I mean, 7 handles is all you'd be risking. That's pretty good risk to reward there. Risk 7 for the move down to 40, so 7 for 25, potential 25. We'll see what happens here. With the silver bullet setup, you want a sweep of a important high or low. And so, just kind of outlining that, just looking here. I mean, obviously, I don't think we're going to make it all the way down here to the 995 level. I mean, I guess we could. So I'm just kind of targeting this area here because we have a lot of consolidation in that area. Might bounce a little bit here at the 50 level. May take a second to get through there. It's kind of odd. I want to say like 8 out of the last 10 Mondays we sold off. And this Monday we chopped up. We chopped around for like that first 2 hours of the market open. And then right there at around 11:30, we just pushed out of there and just trended up for the rest of the day. So I was kind of expecting a potential pullback until the London Open, but we didn't really get that. We're up about 70 points here on the NQ since the open at 6 p.m. Kind of been a pretty much straight up ride. We retraced 9 points and then pumped out of there. So not really offering us anything yet. Let's just be patient and wait for our setup. I kind of want to be aggressive, if it presents the setup to us, but at the same time, not crazy aggressive. Let's not risk more than we need to. I do have two other Apex accounts that I started before midnight last night. Oops, I forgot to just now realizing I forgot to update my banner. It says the Apex sale ended last night. All right, so let's just make sure we are paying attention here. Don't want something to happen while we're not looking. There, seems like it's fine. And to update the banner there to reflect the 50% now instead of the 80% that Apex had. The 80% ended at midnight there. Yeah, like I was saying, we broke through the 20 SMA here, and I was in this zone here. I was thinking about participating, but just want to look for our setup. Don't want to just kind of just say, oh, I think it's going to do this, or I think it's going to do that. Want to just wait, get our actual setup. So this is the problem. I need $653 on the Apex or on the Top Step account to be funded. So I really, ideally, you know, I'm trying to target that 10 handles. And if I just took 2 contracts there, we would be at $400 at 10 handles and $600 at 20. I could take one off at 10 and let the other one ride to potentially lock in the 20. Really just depends on the risk. Let's see if the risk makes sense or not. Still pushing down here. Wow. Did it pierce that liquidity? Let's pay attention. Did not pierce this liquidity yet. Approaching the VWAP there on the 1 minute chart. I mean, potential move down here into that 30-25 level before we possibly, you know, start to move back up here. Just selling off ever since the 3 a.m. here. Not that it's been too long. 15 minutes almost. That first candle's printing pretty red here. First 15-minute candle. All right, bouncing out of there hard. The only thing I don't like is it did not take that liquidity down there. Would like to see this pierce that 40 level where that liquidity rests. I did not quite get to it. I mean, I guess it could just be repainting this volume imbalance here for this move lower. Trying to bounce out of there. Moving back down here. Just going to be patient and wait. It's hard to sit on your hands when you get this move down like this, though. It really is. Well, I guess technically there is some sell side liquidity here, you know, you do have some there, like, you know, these relatively equal lows here, but then you have relatively equal lows here too. So I would think it would take these out as well, but it doesn't have to, I guess. But I would think that it would. This would be my thought process there. I would think that's what it would do. So move below 40 before a potential move back up. Kind of looking at the spread there. If we did move below 40, that would kind of give us the 30 handles that we needed to the high day, to pierce the high day there, that we'd like to have. It's kind of consolidating in this area right now. No real no market structure shift or anything like that. It's kind of what we'd be looking for on the lower time frames here. We'd like for it to form on the 3-minute time frame as well, but really looking at the 2-minute, 3-minute, and the 1-minute. Just trying to see if we, you know, I'd like it to take these lows first. I really would. Make me feel a lot better about it, but it may not. Like for it to sweep these lows, then it can consolidate a little bit, shift back to the upside, leave us a gap. We'll enter on the gap there for the ride back up to the high a day, potentially higher. That is what we might be looking for. Let's just be patient and see what it offers us. Strength to the downside, kind of slowing down here. Kind of wiki on all the charts here. Like I said, it did pierce the sell side liquidity technically. It didn't take out all of the sell side, but it did take some of it. I prefer it to take all of it. I'd feel a little better about it, but you also kind of got this nice fair value gap here. I mean, you'd think it would kind of trade down to the midway point. That's why I was thinking the 30 level. Maybe trade down to the 30 level and then shift back to the upside. And we have a nice 40, potential 40 plus handle move to the top there. It may not give us the perfect setup, though. We'll see. We'll take whatever it offers, I guess. And if we're on the wrong side, we'll take another stab at it, as long as it's between the 3 and 4 a.m. And then go from there. So 2 potential entries. We only want 1, really. Don't really want to have to enter twice. Would rather just get it right the first time. It's not always how it works, though. And what I might do is if I don't consider it the perfect setup, I may not take it on my Top Step account. I may just take it on the Apex and just hold off on the Top Step. Because ideally, I want it to trade below 40. I want it to get into this gap and then shift back to the upside. To me, that's going to look a lot better than leaving this sell side liquidity here. Because if it leaves it here, We could market structure shift back up here to one of these gaps, trade into kind of a premium, and then move down and take this liquidity again. So, and then come back to take this liquidity. So potentially could be on the wrong side of that move. We're going to wait and see what happens here. See what makes the most sense. Ideally, we just consolidate in this area for a little bit and then come down and take this, and then move back up. That's what I'd like to see. Let's see if the market will give us what we like to see. Never know. Starting to move back down now. Looking a little better for this idea. It's been kind of strange. I wonder if it's just because of the contract, whatever, or if it's the contract rollover, or it's because of overnight. We're having a lot of volume imbalances here. I mean, I don't sit here usually during the London session and see. I've only traded the London maybe 4 or 5 times. So I always like the London session though, because I'm like, man, I look at it in hindsight and I'm like, it's offering really nice setups that look pretty clean. So that's the reason we are starting to trade the London. Well, it tried to move back down, and now it's just kind of chopping around here. Maybe a little consolidation. Sometimes it's nice when you just get up at 3 a.m. and then at 3:10 you're already in the position and you can kind of just set your target and walk away. Unfortunately, with Apex, you can't really do that because of that trailing threshold drawdown. I had that happen the other night. It was actually last night. I came in and traded the London Open and set my target at 30 handles. It went about 10 or 12 handles in my direction and then reversed, stopped me out for, so I was up 1,000. I was in it with 5 contracts. And then stopped me out for like a $1,500 loss and touched the $2,500 drawdown on that trade. And I wasn't in here to move my stop to break even or in to take profit. So I realized at that point, because normally I would do that with Top Step, I would just leave it. If it stops me out, it just stops me out. No big deal. But I usually would wait so I can move my stop to break even. If I didn't do that last night, it ended up costing me on that Apex account. You have to babysit the trade. That's the only kind of downside with the Apex. You got to lock in some sort of profit. You can't let it come back on you. Because if you're up $800,000 and then it's a 1-to-1 risk to reward there, or 2-to-1, something like that, you potentially could lose 800 to 1,000 when you were targeting 2 or 3,000, and blow your account up pretty simply. So which, you know, like I said, I had 5 contracts on that trade. Probably should have sized down a little bit there. So it's kind of what we're doing tonight. I'm thinking maybe 3 contracts. I'll take 2 off at 10 handles, or maybe 1 at 10, 1 at 15 if we get it, and then let that third one just run and put it at break even. See how far it can go. Kind of chopping here, consolidating in this area. Coming up on 3:30, so we got about 33 minutes away from exiting the time frame here that we're looking for this particular setup in. Silver Bullet, ICT Silver Bullet typically happens between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m. and then between 10 a.m. and 11 a.m. So that's when I really start to kind of hone in on it and pay attention to it. Not as good at recognizing it during the morning session or even in the afternoon at 2 to 3 p.m. Afternoon's way worse because you got, you know, in my opinion, it's just much more difficult to pick it out. In the London session, it's kind of, I don't know why, maybe it's because it's moving a bit slower. A little easier to kind of pick out what's going on there. Let's just check out the good old ES. Selling off also. It did not run the liquidity to the downside either. Pretty similar setup there. It stopped, kind of stopped in its tracks right there. Yeah. So it didn't run the liquidity either down at the 43.95 level. Got relatively equal lows there. Maybe right here at this 330, once we cross 330, might start to sell off again and take that liquidity. Hard to stay alert here. Whew. Fighting the sleepiness. Oh, I was sleeping so good too. The bed was feeling right. But if you wanna trade this 1 hour here, get this opportunity to get the low-hanging fruit, if you will. Nice easy setup. Then you got to do what you got to do. I've noticed that this 3 to 4 a.m. setup is pretty nice. All right, well, we thought we might get the pump down at the 330 there, but we actually got a pump up. Kind of a wake up. I thought it might down this way and take this liquidity, but that's why you don't guess. I mean, like I said, technically this did pierce the sell side. So looks like we're getting some getting a market structure shift here back to the upside. So let's see what happens. I'm not loving it because ideally I wanted it to take this liquidity first. So I don't think I'm going to take this entry on the top step account. We will take it on the Apex if it gives us the opportunity. So what we want to see happen is we want to see this this gap stay open between these two candles. I would imagine this is going to trade back into it some because of this imbalance here. So we want to see the gap kind of stay open in this area and price to kind of revisit this area. Again, the only thing I don't like is, like I mentioned before, we have this fair value gap here. And I mean, potentially this could just trade back into this gap and move all the way back down. That's kind of what it's looking like right now. It pierced that gap and now it's just kind of rejected. So it did leave a gap here. So now the question is, does it, 57 would be your entry. So what we do is we just come over here and we put us a, what happened there? All right, come on, Top Step. Don't, or not Top Step, Trade of 8. Don't do this today. It's not letting me. Oh, really? What is going on here? You got to be kidding me. All right, it lets me put it on that chart. Why is it not letting me put it over here? It's the same account. Okay, well, let's pay attention. So we need the buy to be at 57.50. Let's see if we can put it on this other chart. That is so weird. No, it's not letting me do. Is it letting me do it on that one? Oh, wait a second. What the hell? Is this not? Must not be showing my fills and orders here. That's what it is. All right. 57.50. All right. I was about to say, what is going on? All right, like I said, I'm not in love with this setup because of the fact that it did not sweep that liquidity below. So that being said, we do have a pretty, this entry is not very, it's not aggressive, if you get what I'm saying. We're only risking 3 handles here. Now, if this trades through this gap and doesn't revisit price here and sweeps this liquidity, then that's fine too. Then we'll look to enter on a shift back to the downside. But like I said, technically there is some sell side liquidity that this did take out. Didn't take it all, but it took some. So we'll see what happens here. This is only risking 3.5 handles, so 3.5 handles there. Let's see, like $60 something, whatever on that one. We'll go ahead and we'll put on. It's a very low risk trade, so we're going to put on 3 contracts. Now, if this creates a fair value gap here, if this closes, then we'll move our entry up to the 3-minute gap. Well, let's see what happens there. Again, if it takes out this fair value gap and moves above this kind of swing high here, then I think I'll scratch this trade. If it doesn't come through this gap and then it trades back into it, we'll take it and see what happens. Like I said, it could just be trading up into this discount zone for the move back down to take this liquidity first. So You kind of have an argument for both directions here. I don't really like that. I'm not in love with that. I like for it to be clear and concise. Clear and concise would be nice. But you don't always get that. You don't always get it. All right, I think I'm about to go ahead and cancel this order because it doesn't look like it's gonna, yeah, let's cancel that. So this is doing kind of what we were thinking. Now it's gonna take this liquidity and we'll look for a structure shift back to the downside here. So that's bulletin point number 1. Run liquidity. We need to run on an important high or low. And so that's what happened here. This is the high of the night. We just took it out. You can see on the 1 minute chart, there's no real entry. I mean, we did have a market structure shift here, but it would have had to have traded back to this zone in order to ride this up. There's no entry offered as of yet. So, no entry offered. So what we'd be looking for at this point, I mean, this could continue a little bit higher here, could continue higher 20, 30 points, who knows. But what we're looking for is a market structure shift back to the downside, and then we'll ride this down, targeting, you know, this liquidity here would kind of be our first target. And then your second target would be, you know, this liquidity down here potentially. Even this swing low at the 04s or the 95 low a day. Maybe for one runner, leave on a runner there. That's what we're going to be looking for. It's so funny because the last couple of nights that I've gotten up at 340. And as soon as I walked in here, the setup's been there. So we're approaching 340 here. Similar type of setup here. So let's see what the, you know, low-hanging fruit is 40. Probably an overshoot of 40 to the 35 level. So let's see how many handles this kind of offers us. So from 80, you know, possible entry in that 65. We might be able to get the full $600 on the Top Step account. We'll see. Kind of see what happens. So our idea that it would go and take that top liquidity was pretty valid there. We just didn't get offered an entry. Now, of course, we could have just pressed the button, but it's not what we're trying to do here. The point of getting up here overnight is to target this one particular strategy and go with it. And so, no just taking momentum trades, which, you know, I do take momentum trades during the day, that's for sure. But right here, right now, we're not doing that. So we'd like to see a market structure shift down. On the 1 minute chart, really would like to see it pierce this area here. You know, let's get some displacement down here, maybe pierce this area, trade back up into the whatever gap it leaves, and then we can kind of ride it down. That would kind of be our idea for this particular setup. Really want to see it close this gap. This one here. Want to see it close this gap here. So I want this middle candle maybe to close the gap, and then the next candle to pierce this, swing low, trade back up into the gap for the move higher or the move lower. Let's see if we get that, or if we're just wishful thinking here. Who knows? I guess you could say, well, if you think it pierced some sell side liquidity here, couldn't this just trade back into the first gap and this be your entry for the move higher? You potentially be right. We could be reading this wrong. This could be considered taking that sell side liquidity, and then this could be offering us our entry long. I don't believe so, because this is not a significant liquidity, pool of liquidity that it took out here as this liquidity is. So that's why I'm using this one and not the liquidity that it took. If it had broke 40, then yes, we would be looking for this to trade back into one of these gaps for the move to the upside. But since it left these relatively equal lows, I'm thinking it's going to revisit this area first, and that these gaps here will be traded through. I could be wrong, but that's my thought process there. Trying to move back up here. We need some sort of displacement here. It's kind of what we're looking for. Back to the downside. Now, since it left this swing low here, see, it left this swing low. So now our displacement no longer has to be here. Now the displacement can simply be here. It could even just be here. So we just want to see a market structure shift beyond this low. Could use this one, but I like this one. Leaving a gap, trade back up into it, and continue lower. I'm okay with this going higher before it goes lower, because the further up it goes, the more room we have between this 40 liquidity and our entry. So, and that'll kind of be our target point there. Coming up on 345 here. So we got about 15 minutes more before this setup to form. If it doesn't form here in the next 15 minutes, we will not be taking a trade. So let's see if we get it. Like I said, most nights I'm noticing, most mornings, I'm noticing that it forms between 3:40 and 4 o'clock. You don't usually get it right there at the open, but the open's definitely tradable. I mean, you know, I could have traded this. This looked like it was going to take out that liquidity. So could have gotten short for this break through the 20 SMA here at 3 o'clock. This low of this candle broke. So could have got short at 62, rode it down to the 40. I mean, it was a nice 20 handle move. Did kind of surprise me that this, but once we got this displacement here, hasn't really offered an entry. The only entry would have been here at 72. So, I mean, we could just be waiting for nothing here. This could be what it's using as its liquidity, and then your entry would have been here at 72 off of this volume imbalance, fair value gap. But I don't believe so, but I could be wrong. I want to stick to my plan here and not second guess myself, so all right, still trying to move up here. Approaching this pivot, that may be what it's doing. Trying to maybe get this pivot up here at the 88 for this shift back to the downside. Let's see. Or we could just be completely off sides here. This may have been, like I said, this could have been the liquidity run it was looking for, although I don't believe so, but you do have some sell side liquidity resting there. The other liquidity is a few ticks below there. I would have loved for it to have taken this out first, and then we got this shift that we got going on, but just stick to the rules, stick to the setup here. See if we can't get a shift here before 4 a.m. If we don't, then we'll see what we decide to do. We may switch over and just kind of play off the price action. And the silver bullet doesn't form every single day. It is most days. I'd say 9 out of 10. During those hours, you're going to see the silver bullet form. It doesn't always form, though, so you just have to be patient. And if it forms, great, we hammer it. If it doesn't form, that's okay, too. Sometimes not taking a trade and keeping the P&L at $0 is considered a win. So see if we get this push back down here with a little displacement, get a little consolidation in this area up near the highs. It's trying to do a little something. It's trying to work its way out there. Kind of watching the ES here as well. So if this doesn't form on the ENQ, but it forms on the ES, then we'll take it there. Almost getting a little bit of a pullback here on the ES. It just crossed over that 4,400 level. Nothing to write home about though yet. Possibly get this form on the 3-minute chart before we get it on the 1-minute chart, since it's kind of a bit choppy. No real displacement to say right yet. Right now. Ugh. Looking a little better here. Again, we want to see it kind of pierce this swing low here. It can just pierce this one. It'd be fine. Still be a valid entry, but so let's see. No gap here, no gap here, no gap there. So we want this candle to form, come down to here, somewhere in this area, trade back up into this gap, and we will take a short. Our stop will be at the top of this candle. So let's see what happens. So as of right now, we're looking at a spread of 71 to 40. So about 30 handles. That'd be perfect. That would be quite nice. All right, so now we're going to put our sell limit at 71. I'm going to do 1 contract on the top step and 2 contracts on the apex. Stop at 78.25. We'll take 1 off at 51 here. Now, as this moves down, if it creates more gaps, if it doesn't quite make it back here, we will move this down with it. So if it doesn't offer us an entry here, we will move that down. So if it only comes back to this gap, then we'll take a little worse entry. But let's just see what happens. I would like to get the fill at 71 here short. That's what I'd like to do. All right, so you can see this swept the liquidity. So it swept the high day. We have displacement to the downside here, piercing this swing low. Now we're just looking for a move back up to offer us an entry here. We're using the furthest gap away right now. We could, if this trades back up into the 67 level and doesn't seem like it's going to come any higher, then we will take the entry wherever it offers, where it offers it to us at. Targeting its liquidity down here at the 40. Really, 40. There we go. So let's just see what happens here. And you can see there's another small gap here, so this very well could just trade back to the 65 and then continue lower. So could even just trade to there. Unfortunately, it's a worse entry for us, but let's take a look and see. Let's target this volume imbalance, I think, because we have a small volume imbalance here that should repaint that at 68. It still could trade back up into that 71 level as well, but we'll take a little bit worse of a feel here, a little more risk. That's okay. It's already a relatively low risk trade at this point anyway. Risking 10 handles, $200. 10 handles over here, $400. So for a potential you know, $200 here for potential $600. Yeah. And then $400 here for a potential, you know, whatever it is, $1,200. So far, it has not offered us an entry. Now, obviously, if it takes this liquidity out at the 40 before this comes back up and kind of tags us in, then we're going to scratch this trade. But I'm hoping that it doesn't do that. I think that it should come back up and tag us in here at some point. We're approaching that 4 o'clock hour as well, so if we don't get tagged in here on this setup, then that's going to be it. You can see on the 3-minute chart, the worst entry would be 65. And so I may take that worst entry on the 3-minute chart here on the Apex account. I'm not going to take that entry on the top step. I want a little more, I really want that 71. So if it doesn't tag me in here at 71 on top step, I'm probably just going to take that off. In fact, I think I'm just going to take it off on the top step because too close to 4 a.m. here, and I'm okay with having a bit of a riskier entry here on the Apex. You can see did not offer us an entry there. So we can get tagged in here at the 65.25. All right, we're just going to manually enter here. It's not really offering us entry. I think it's going to go take that liquidity down at the 40. So I'm probably just going to do one contract, reduce risk here. Just trying to watch it to see if it will actually trade back up in there. It would be nice.
Filled.
All right, we'll just take the entry here for this move down, targeting this 40 liquidity here. I'll probably move my stop down pretty quickly here if it pushes us down into profit. Don't want to risk here since it's not really, you know, what I would call a ideal setup, if you will. Let's see it push on down here. I'm going to put my stop just to cover the commissions right there. So see if we can get this pushed down. If it comes back up and stops us out, we're just going to be done. I just wanted to take, you know, at least take an entry. I've been sitting here for an hour, so.
Stop filled.
There we go. Stopped us out. Well, we waited. We were patient. I'm looking. I don't see an entry. I mean, I just don't see one. Unless it trades back up into this 65 level, where's your entry? You know, even if you say this was the sweep of liquidity, where's the entry? Literally never offers an entry. Not on the 3 minute. Let's check the 1 minute. There's our first gap, no entry. There's our second gap. I mean, that potentially could have been entry, but you'd be long from 72 for a move to 83. It's not a very good spread. Run this liquidity, trades back down. Has not traded back into a gap yet. So didn't really, silver bullet did not really form here. I mean, I guess looking at the, let's see, it's 206. Yeah, I mean, it at 206 it ran up here, created a gap here, traded into it, but we didn't run any liquidity. That's the thing. Oh, it's 206. Yeah, that's at 2 o'clock. So, and it still hasn't traded back up into a gap. I mean, I guess I could put my sell order there and we could just see if it tags me in. We'll risk whatever we're supposed to. Put the target at the 40. If we get tagged in here, we may just leave this trade on and go back to bed. Risking 13 handles, a single contract, so that's $260 for 25 handles. What is that? $500. So it's about a 2-to-1 risk to reward there. I'd be okay with just leaving that one on and going back to bed. So let's see what happens there. Let's just look and see if we get tagged in. If we get tagged in and it moves in our direction, we may move the stop to break even there and just head on to bed. We'll be back at 7 a.m. What am I talking about? 9:20 a.m. 9:20 a.m. So we're tagged in there. Could just be offsides, but again, this is outside the hours, you know, 3 to 4. We're at 4:05, so we'll see what happens here. Now, of course, it's going to trade back to our 71 entry that we wanted, right? Close. So So where would the stop be on that? 78. Yeah, that's where we got it at. That's fine. Let's see if this plays out. I guess I could move this at one tick into the, one more tick there into the green. So yeah, we would have got tagged in. No, not quite. Only went to 70 and a quarter. I mean, this is, you know, finally offering an entry here, but it's just outside the time that we're looking for, but it's still a valid entry. I mean, you know, you got the big fair value gap here. Shift in structure, yada, yada, all the things. 3-minute chart, which is typically a little stronger. Looking good. Got it on the 2-minute chart, got it on the 4-minute chart, we got it on the 5-minute chart. So we'll see if this pushes down. I'd like to see it take this swing low here. If it takes this swing low, then I'd like to go ahead and move my stop to break even. Might even do it before then. Actually, if it takes this swing low, we may just lock in some profit. We'll stay with it here for a few more minutes. Give it time. Give it a little few minutes. See what happens. See if it starts to go in our direction or if we're just completely offsides here on this. Give it a little bit of time. Starting to look a little better here. I'd like to get this thing below this 58 level. Like I said, pierce this swing low. Sure would be nice. I kind of want to go to bed here, so I really want this thing to just, I almost want to just go ahead and move my stop to break even now. All right, we're going to move the stop to 1 tick. I know that's sooner than I said, but kind of want to just go to sleep here. So what's the spread on this? 65 to 40. So $500. So this could take, if it comes down to say here and then reverses, this could take $300 or $400 off of our drawdown. I don't know. I'm just trying to decide here if I want to move my stop back into the red or not. Let's look and see, is there anywhere else we could put the stop that would make sense? I mean, not really. Really like for this to go ahead and move down here. Take out this swing low, and I'd move my take profit down to like $100, something like that. And then, you know, you'd only be risking 300 on the drawdown there. I'd be okay with that. That's what I don't like about Apex. If this wasn't on the Apex account, I'd literally just leave my stop at 78 and just go to bed. And if it stopped me out, I would just be down 160, whatever, 150 on this trade. Because the static drawdown, you know, it doesn't count the profit. So, all right, let's get this push on down below this swing low here, so that we can just lock in 5 handles and go to bed. You can do it. So what would that be? 60 and a quarter? Probably moving this too soon, but I want to see it pierce that swing low. I'll just leave it here at 40 bucks for now. Trying to be as patient as I can on this trade, but very sleepy. I want to move it to 60 and a quarter and just go to bed, but I'm feeling it might bounce here. Yeah, it's the problem. It's really not supposed to move my stop till break even until this swing low is taken. Alright, let's move the stop back to break even. Let's give it another minute. Might stop us out even at break even. Really shouldn't be here until we take this swing low. Come on now. All right, I'm going to lock in 100 here. I know I shouldn't, but that's what we're going to do. If it stops us out, it just stops us out. Just want to get something on this trade.
Stop filled.
That's okay. I'm okay with that. Probably going to go take this liquidity, but I don't feel like sitting here watching it. I'm kind of sleepy. So that being said, I'll be back at 9:20 a.m. or 9:20 this morning to trade the New York Open. Appreciate you watching. If you haven't already liked the video, subscribe. And we will see you then.